Paranormal After Dark with the Roadie.
Welcome back to Mark from Paranormal New Zealand. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Good to have you back on the show. What's been going on with you guys this year in terms of your investigations? Anything interesting come up?
Well, we're always keeping busy, always keeping productive, and working on little projects here and there, and it's been quite a busy year. We've achieved quite a bit, so I'm quite pleased with how the year's gone so far. We're just sort of getting ready to wind it down. We've got a couple of little things that we're going to do before the end of the year, and we're looking forward to the new year, actually, because we've got a few things sort of lined up for the new year, so a few different things we're going to try, something new, and a few things, and we've got a couple of new locations that we're going to be checking out as well, so it's trucking along, doing interesting things.
So tell me, the regular locations that you go to, like the lake house and stuff, have you had any interesting evidence pop up, anything happen, or is it just the same stuff as usual?
We always sort of get little somethings here and there. We never get anything too amazing like on television, but it's you get little subtle things, little bits and pieces, but they all seem to fit little patterns. Like you have, instead of the odd just random taps and knocks and creaks that buildings make, you get sort of repetitive, a series of thuds which sound like footsteps. So you get lots of footstep type effects that we hear quite often.
So what do you make of that? I mean, I watch these ghost investigations on YouTube. I've been on a couple with you guys, and it's sort of like, I don't know, I especially watching the UK ones when they're in there and they're in houses and they hear things like footsteps and that. I kind of imagine, and this is just the human imagination, right? That maybe someone's sitting there in 1986 in their lounge and they're hearing you and you're hearing them, but you know what I mean? Like, what do you? Yeah. Let's just for shits and giggles. What do you guys, or what do you personally think is going on with those footsteps? Is it something like that? Is it a residual thing? What is it? I mean, the whole thing just blows my mind. The whole thinking about thinking that there's probably something there, but what the hell is it? How is it? You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah,
I actually find them quite fascinating, the ones I've heard, because as you know, I'm quite skeptical about a lot of things, but I can easily rule out building noise. I mean, I know what that sounds like. I've been doing it all my life. I know what buildings sound like, and the sounds I've been hearing just don't sound like typical, building settling and building movement and the atmosphere. It just doesn't sound like it. You get like a whole series of thuds, and they'll speed up and they'll slow down, so they'll be running, sort of like a running, and you'll get quite a few footsteps out of it. And I've heard numerous times. At the lake house, we've heard it numerous times. Not just myself, but team members and guests that have joined us as well. They've heard the same things. So we find that quite intriguing. But also at the old Puanui homestead at the historical village, quite a few of the team actually heard running and walking sort of footsteps, and they were definite with purpose, heel toe with a sort of a solid shoe walking down floorboards, and it was numerous, up to about 6 footsteps. So you can't really sort of put that down to building movement when it sort of follows those sorts of patterns.
What do you think it is? Do you is it someone? Is it just a residual memory of something left behind? Is it someone passing through our realm? I go back to the Star Trek, as you know. It's like, is it maybe 2 different universes just meeting at a particular point at a particular time, and you're hearing something? I mean, do you think they're hearing you, or is this just something that's passing by and they're not aware of you? If it's a they, what's your thoughts around it?
Yeah, so I to be honest, I don't really know, but the 2 moments, like talking about footsteps and things, the 2 moments that have really stood out to me that made me go, okay, wow, there's something going on there. One was at Puanui Homestead when I wrote about it in one of the books, how I walked down the hallway to go to the toilet. I started urinating, and as I was just about to urinate, I heard clip, clop, clip, clop, clip, clop coming down the hallway towards the toilet. So I suddenly stopped what I was doing, held it, and the footsteps stopped when they reached the door. So I carried on, of course, and there was nobody in the building. But they were like walking with purpose, solid heel toe down the footsteps, a good 6 to 8 footsteps. It was pretty shocking because I thought somebody had come into the house and I'd locked the door behind me, so I was the only one in there. I was there by myself. And this had happened to one of the other paranormal investigators on at the same place, but on a different session. And she was there by herself, and she heard the footsteps going down this very same hallway, clip clop, about 5 or 6 footsteps down the hallway towards her. Whereas at the lake house, that was one that stood out to me. That was quite amazing. That's when I was meeting a paranormal friend of mine who was from the States who had come over. And so I told him I'd take him to the lake house. And so I arrived earlier than he did. I was there about 15 minutes before he arrived. So I walked through the front door with my bag on and all my bits and pieces, walked through the front door into the main foyer, and I heard this do-do-do-do-do-do-do down the hallway. Now, there's a cafe there at the lake house, and it's run by a family, and they have kids. And there's been the odd time where we've been there at night time, and the family have turned up to prepare for the next morning. To get the food ready, and they'll bring the kids, and the kids will just run around. So naturally, I just thought it was one of the kids. I thought, oh, the cafe people are here. Went down the hallway to the cafe, and there's nobody there. But it was the definitive. It was like bare feet. If you can imagine a young child, bare feet on a wooden floorboards, just running to hide somewhere. It sounded exactly like that, clear as day. Yeah, it was amazing.
So the skeptic in me is going to say, have you ever managed to record this, get an audio recording of any of this, or has it always just happened when you've never been able to get any evidence of it?
No, both times I wasn't ready. Both times I just entered, like the lake house one, I just entered, just coming through the front door, hadn't put any gear down, hadn't put my bags down, I was just walking in. And the Puinui homestead was basically I just hadn't set up anything yet, and I was walking to the toilet to have a piss.
So do you think this is intentional? Because I often see some of the UK teams will come on camera and go, oh man, we were setting up and we heard something. Do you reckon it's intentional? Like are they playing with you?
So I don't know if it's residual or if it's like something that where they're actually there and they're aware of us being there. I really don't know, because at the time it feels like there's somebody there with you, but like, for example, a child running down the hallway, and that could be a residual as well, couldn't it? That could be a recording replaying itself.
And that's the weird thing to me, is that's the big question really, residual or are they aware of you? And if they're aware of you, I would have thought, and this is just me, that when people tried to interact, you get more interaction from them, you know?
Yeah. Well, both times I thought that there was somebody there with me, that had heard me coming in and that was actually aware of me being there. But when you can also accept that as being, you know, a recording as well. Maybe that's just a recording of a past moment in time.
But if that was the case, and this is the thing I struggle with residuals, if that was the case and it was a particular moment in time, wouldn't you think it would happen at the same time every day, maybe? Possibly.
Maybe it does. Yeah, I don't really know. But yeah. I mean, ideally, we should be logging the times and dates, and actually, you know, making sure we're there at the same time every time, and see if there are any patterns involved. But yeah, at the time, I just thought, wow, that's amazing. It's amazing. And I didn't have anything set up, but it was just one of those moments that you experienced something you couldn't explain, and it just seemed real. It was very real to me. So, I couldn't sort of rationalise it.
So in all the years, I may have asked you this before, but in all the years, and including this year, and I'm going to put aside things like orbs and all that sort of shit, right? Have you ever seen, like, has there ever been anything manifest for either you or any of the members of the team, or has it only ever been audio?
No, there's been many shadows that have shown themselves to myself and the team members, and also guests that have joined us. For example, the lake house again, the shadows that have shown themselves there have been child-sized, like a small person, and they've been seen by numerous people, and this kind of fits into the narrative of a child being there, perhaps even a little girl that's meant to be there. So it kind of fits into that narrative of a child or childlike activity.
So if you're seeing shadows, do you think they're aware of you then? Do you think like they are watching you, or again it's just a moment in time repeating? Because if they're kind of like, you think they're showing themselves to you, that would imply interaction, wouldn't it?
Well, there was an investigation we did. It was a private residential one. It was in Titirangi here in Auckland, and that was quite a few years ago. That was many years ago, possibly about over 10 years ago. And that's when we interacted with a supposed child. There was a 10-year-old kid called Jonathan. And all the family members had seen this child and walking around the house. They'd seen shadows. They'd seen this child standing in the doorway. And, they all sort of had stories about a young boy. We seemed to be interacting with what appeared to be a young boy. We were getting tapping noises in answer to our questions that kind of answered as being that his name was Jonathan, that he was 10 years old, that he was a boy, and that sort of thing. And yes, I was actually seeing short shadows at the corner of my eye, sort of behind me and walking down hallways and stuff like that. So as I was filming in the dark with my night vision, I had infrared camera going, and I could see shadows moving around the hallways when all the team members were sitting still in the center of the room. Nobody was moving, but yet there was a shadow moving around the room.
Okay, and you never captured that. You never captured that on the camera.
No, well, we did ask him. We did one of the questions. No, we didn't capture the shadows because I was facing the wrong way. I was facing towards the ladies, and I was filming them to make sure nobody was moving. And it's just sort of at this corner of my eye, I was seeing shadows, and I was turning my head, and I'd see the shadow go down the hallway and things like that. But yeah, it's like I really don't know. I mean, they're just sort of shadows. I mean, whether they're residual shadows of movement or whether it's something that's right there. I mean, we did actually ask Jonathan. One of the questions we asked him was, can you see us? Can you see us? And he said, yes. And we asked him, are you in the room with us right now? And he said, no. And we asked him where he was, and he said he didn't know, but it was all dark, and he didn't know where he was. And he said there were people there with him, but he didn't know who they were.
So how did you get this name, Jonathan, like if he was only tapping?
It took a long time. We had to go through the alphabet, through every single word. So we had to go through the alphabet, and we just waited for taps on each letter. But again, that's not 100% controllable. That's I mean, what if there's a lag, in their time, it's very rough and it's very imprecise and that sort of thing. But we sort of go with what we had at that time. That was a long time ago.
Have you got this on camera? Like, have you got this interaction and all that stuff on camera, or what? Or recorded?
Yeah, we've got all the recordings that are recorded on audio.
Wow.
It was basically just a black room. You couldn't really see anything. But the on the website, if you go to the website, it's in the residentials, and there's I think it's Titirangi or Newland, one of those ones.
Ah, okay.
And I'll send you the link. And it's we've got it all down there. Yeah, we've got it all there.
I might put that up. I might put that on this YouTube. Or when we put this on YouTube, I might put that link in the description. That's fascinating to me. Now, you said that he was aware of you. Now, this gets back to the thing of and
also the tapping. I just made the tapping that he was making wasn't coming from any one direction. I had the team all in front of me. I was standing in the middle of the room, and I was filming them with my infrared camera. But the tapping would come from either behind me, in front of me, right up close to my ear. It would come on the other side of the room. It was basically coming from everywhere. So we couldn't actually pick where it was coming from. It just sort of sounded like it was all over the place.
So this is fascinating. Is it another dimension? Is it another universe? Or is it the afterlife? This is were you able to establish if he thought he was living in another universe or another time, or did he think he was living, or did he not know what was going on?
He sounded confused from what we gathered. We talked to him for about an hour and a half. It took a long time because, of course, you're going through the alphabet with each word, it takes a long time. So, it's not very accurate. But, basically from what we gathered, it was that he was confused, he was scared, he didn't know where he was, he didn't know the people that were there with him. But we asked him about the family that lived there and did he see the family? And he said yes, he saw them, and he enjoyed watching the television because there's a television in the bedroom, and he liked to watch the TV.
See, this is weird. What did he sort of tell you what time period he was from?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Because if he
did say that he wasn't allowed to go downstairs.
See, this is weird. Like, so like he watched TV, so he obviously knew what a TV was. I'm gathering. So, but the thing that gets me is he's in a dark room. Okay, so what is this place, and why is it in a house? So this is where my Star Trek thing comes in again about universes existing in the same spot at the same time, but and the interaction it's weird because but the fact that he didn't know where he was and who he was with,
but he could see us.
That's weird too, because is it perhaps a waiting room of some sort, purgatory? You're waiting to move on, and you were never able to go back and interact with him again.
We did before we left. We sort of decided, because we went to check out the rest of the house and spend some time, because we were there all night. We spent 2 nights there, and the owners went away and stayed in the hotel because they wanted us to help find answers, because they were, quite scared, and they wanted some answers. So we did our best with what we had to, deal with. But we went back before we sort of left. We sort of went back and we ended up sort of what appeared to be somebody else, but we didn't really get much from it. It appeared to be a man or an adult or something, but we're not too sure about that one. It was quite vague.
And you've never heard from this family again, or anyone that's lived in that house since, whether this is still going on, or you've never been able to go back and try and make contact again?
No, well, they were renting. Renting, and they allowed us to sort of go public with the details about it, but they didn't want us to sort of mention names. We had to change all their names for putting it in the book and stuff like that, and on their articles. We changed their names just to keep their privacy, and all that. So, no, I mean, they were renting, so it's, it's one of those sort of tricky situations. We can't sort of go back, but I have actually talked to the daughter since then, about a couple of years later after that, and she said that things are very quiet there. Things have quietened down. Which
leads itself to my theory of purgatory. Maybe it was a waiting room. You're in people will often go in a waiting room and you're there with a lot of people and you don't know who they are, but you're waiting for something.
Yeah, maybe.
Fascinating. I'm talking with Mark from Paranormal New Zealand, and we're just chewing the fat about things that have been going on, and that's an investigation from a long time back. We'll be back very shortly after this break.
Rocket 88.0. Paranormal After Dark with the Roadie on Rocket FM.
A Christchurch band from the 90s, from 1995's album Outcast, Tempest and Believer. And we're back with Mark from Paranormal New Zealand here on Paranormal After Dark. Now, that was a fascinating story about this, the little boy you spoke to, supposedly, well, who knows?
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah. So, do you think, just finishing that off, that someone was playing with you? Could there have been someone else in the house somewhere in the vicinity, and they were doing the knocking?
Well, possibly, but it was in the room with us. We could all hear it, and we were.
Right.
If you listen to the recordings, you can actually hear everybody being quite shocked and surprised about what was happening. They didn't really, it was just amazing to everybody.
Are the knockings on the recording?
The knocking's on the recording, yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes it's very faint, but it's definitely there.
Okay.
I can send you the links. They're on the website, and I think we've actually made a YouTube clip for it. I think I might have put the audio with just a picture on the top and just sort of. I might have. I'm not too sure. I have to check that.
Okay.
So if I haven't, I will do that. Actually.
Is that the most compelling evidence in all your years that you've ever come across?
No, not really. I mean, that was one of the first ones that sort of came up. There was another one at King Seat in the nurses' quarters, which is now the Spookers building. That was the first time we were there, and we had the same sort of interactions, but it was with a K2 meter. And we had a K2 meter going, and it was one of those. It wasn't actually a K2 meter; it was an EMF meter, but it was it beeped and flashed.
Okay.
And it was doing the same thing. Instead of tapping, it was replying with beeping and flashing, on the EMF meter. So that was quite interesting. So we managed to go through the alphabet with that one as well, and we got numbers and ages and names, and we managed to talk to a nurse allegedly called Alexis.
Right, so you've never heard any voices, like you've never had a conversation with any of these people in terms of, how people often say, I've got a EVP. You've never had anyone talk to you, interact that way?
We've picked up the odd voice and the odd sounds, but to me they sound like some sort of residual recording that sort of, one that I've quite liked was at the Puanui homestead again. We had an audio recorder upstairs, and the two ladies that were staying the night there, they were downstairs in the main living room where they were sleeping, and they were just chatting amongst themselves, but they had an audio recorder sitting up in the main bedroom, the master bedroom, and it captured over the top of them talking downstairs. You could hear this man, and he says a whole phrase, but one of the words is something about the pumps. He talks about the pump, and he mentions the pump, and we thought, oh, shit. And there was nobody there. I had long gone, and it was probably very, very late at night, and we did some digging on that place, and it was William McLaughlin, who was the owner of the Puanui homestead, and he built a filtration pump on his land. And he was the first one, and it was the first one in Auckland or New Zealand, I think. And he was very proud of it, and he used to tell everybody about his pump, his filtration pump. So we thought that was quite a neat little tie-in there, where we had this recording of some man talking about a pump.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll just... my chair's gone funny. So as we're recording the show here, my chair's collapsed on me, which is really funny. So I'll sit on the other one over here in the studio. Now, that's interesting.
It's just demons.
Yeah, it probably is, actually.
Swamp gas.
Swamp gas. It's always swamp gas. So in terms of that... when you've had that, do you think like it was just a residual? It wasn't someone interacting with you. It wasn't someone talking about the pump per se.
No, it just sort of sounded like it was somebody talking in the background. To me, it just sort of felt like a recording. I mean, this person might have been having a conversation with somebody there in real time. They may have been, but to me, in my mind, it was just like a recording somehow that was just replaying itself onto the audio recorder. But it was just interesting. The subject matter was about the pump.
That is fascinating that it's like that. Yeah, that's what I often think when people do get EVPs. I've heard the odd ones. There was someone on the Art Bell show years ago where they claimed they were having a conversation with people, and I heard these EVPs and I thought, they kind of sound like they're having a conversation.
Yeah.
But with each other in another place or another time. They're not interacting directly with the investigator, which is what the investigator claimed they were doing. I've managed to fix my chair too, by the way, listeners. One of the wheels flew off it amazingly, so maybe it's possessed. Someone's trying to get my attention.
Yeah.
Someone's trying to get my attention. No, so that is a fascinating thing. Those interactions, and I mean, quite compelling.
We're not saying they're ghosts and all that. But it's just like, we're just thinking, well, what else can it be? I mean, I'm not the most knowledgeable person. I'm not an expert, so I'm stumped. And everybody we've asked about it don't seem to have any answers. So for now, it is a bit of a mystery.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, is it ghosts? Is it another dimension? I was watching I can't remember which one it was. It was a UK team. Oh God, it was a video about 6 or 8 months ago, and they were at a castle. It may have even been one of these historic walkers that goes around the castle, and they were talking to one of the caretakers in this castle, right, about how they'd interacted with a ghost, and they were in this corridor, and they said we were walking down this corridor, and we came round the corner, and there was a guy standing there dressed in Elizabethan clothing, and straight away I thought, oh, here we go, this is going to be a bullshit story, right? But the interesting thing was that the person said, I went, as if, what the hell's that? And she said they also went, as if they were startled, like as if they were in another dimension walking along, and what the hell, like they saw me as a ghost. And I went, now that's what got me thinking.
Yeah.
Maybe he was in Elizabethan England just walking along. Oh, the hell's that?
Yeah, that's right. Who's scaring who?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It is quite fascinating because that's what I get. That's what I struggle with, is getting your head around what the other side might be. I recently just got a recording from sent through to me. Sammy Hagar, who was of course in Van Halen at one time, he's just put out a song called Encore, Thank You, Good Night, and it's the entire lyrics of it. He claims are based on a dream that he woke up from, where he claimed that Eddie Van Halen came to him in the dream and gave him the riff. And the song says that we sat in the corner and we wrote the song. And it's called, and in the lyrics it's saying, thank you for the music, thank you for the song. Now, and then it goes, what took you so long? It's not taking me. Yeah, so I mean, he also wrote a song back in the 80s claiming that also about interaction with an alien. So, is that how, either that's him just dreaming or the interaction comes that way? It is fascinating to kind of see that, but the whole... I tend to lean, especially in places like that lake house and old theatres, I tend to think perhaps it's a residual thing. It's some sort of time thing. I can imagine in a place that had a lot of energy like the lake house, because I've been there, people in and out all the time, theatres where shows are on for years, that there's energy patterns just left there, and perhaps they're just replaying themselves at certain times. Although, having said that, you spent a night in the Globe Theatre with me and nothing. So... Yeah. And I've been in that place at times of the day when other people have alleged to see things, and there's nothing. So that brings me to a thing of I've been thinking about this too. We're watching some UK teams that go to that 30 East Drive, and they go, the most haunted house in Auckland, and nothing happens in England, and nothing happens. Now, have you been to places where, or do you still go to places where you've had stuff, and then over the years it's diminished and almost nothing?
No, not really. I mean, the places that they've either had nothing or they'll have little bits and pieces, and the more times we go back there, the more activity we seem to get. Like, for example, the Lake House, the Puinui Homestead, and places like that. We had an old school, an Auckland school. It was a girls' school that was shut down, and we had that for 2 years. And every time we'd go back, something new would happen. It's almost like they become familiar with you. They become used to you. They start to open up a bit more. It just feels like it. With the Lake House, it just feels like the little child that's there, or apparently there, seems to be, showing herself a little bit more and seems to want to interact. Okay,
because where I was going with it was, I was just wondering if maybe if there is such things as the residual hauntings, the energy that's just repeating itself, that maybe over time that energy fades and gets weaker and then eventually just disappears.
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. I would. Yeah, I mean, they say energy can't be destroyed, but I mean, I think it can fizzle a bit and then lose its power. And
well, that's what I was talking about. That 30 East Drive. People have gone there and there's nothing here. Maybe the energy's dissipated. I don't know, but I'm wary about that place anyway. But
with 30 East Drive, I mean, I think a lot of that is just fueled by the power of suggestion. It's like the stories just build and build and build. People go into that place expecting things to happen. So anything that does happen, whether it's just a tap on it or whatever, it's a ghost because it's happened to many other people before.
That's right.
It's been a ghost.
That's right. Now this little girl. This is. We'll move on shortly, but. So you think this little girl's getting more familiar with it. So this gets back to the whole thing of what is the other side. Like, is this girl, like, when you're not there, is she just wandering around this place on her own? You know what I'm sort of saying? Do you ever think about that when you're sitting there? We're interacting with her. We're the first person to talk to her, say, in 3 days because she's been wandering around. What do you think about is going on?
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, could James Gilbert from Wellington, he joined us one time, and he said he had the shadow come down the stairs towards him. Now, a shadow figure of a child has been seen on the stairs numerous times, and even an apparition has been seen. But back when the house was in its original position on Lake Takapuna, a young girl was seen numerous times standing on the stairwell or up and running along the top mezzanine floor. And so it was quite interesting to us that when we moved into that place and we started researching the place and we had residency there, we didn't know anything about this young girl. We heard nothing about the young girl at all. And all our sessions there started to pick up on what appeared to be a young child. And then we started to get the names, and we ended up with Patty as being a name, Patty being a 9-year-old girl. We don't know if that is true or not. That's just what sort of led us. That we were led to that, and we sort of went with it for a bit. But it's all based around a young girl called Patty. Then we found out afterwards that a young girl has been seen in the building numerous times, and it's past life where it was used to stand in a different location.
So have you managed to dig into the history of where it stood in the previous location? Was there a young child there that had possibly lived there and died there, or what was the story?
We don't know about died, but it was used for many things, from a family home to a boarding house to a hospital to. It was used by a cult. A cult sort of used
really?
It. Well, it was sort of they used the upstairs attic area. There used to be like a large upstairs attic, which you can't get into now. But there is a window from the outside that you can sort of see into from if you can get up high enough. But they used to use the upstairs attic and have orgies up there. They used to have orgies and all sorts of other carry on up there.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, good Friday night party. So yeah, it was. It's had lots of. It's had a very lively life, and but yeah, the stories of the young girl were told to us well after we'd actually been interacting with an apparent
But nothing,
young girl.
you've never found anything definitive about a girl living in the place or having some attachment to the place?
No, only stories about her being seen there.
So you really can't confirm the name is accurate then, that there was a
No.
Patty that lived there. Okay, that's interesting.
Well, we got Patricia. We got the name Patricia, and we shortened it to Patty because she
Right.
preferred Patty. But that's just sort of allegedly, really, because that was we aren't sure because again there could be a lag in the timing of what they're doing, and so it just happened to land on a P. So we went with Patricia, and of course the lights flashed for Patricia. And then we asked about Patty, and the lights went super crazy. So we sort of thought, okay, we have a name. It might not be accurate, but we'll go with it for now and see where it leads us.
Yeah.
But all the interactions that we seem to be having seem to be a young child.
So, like, this is what I'm saying. It's a lonely existence if it's only that you're interacting with one, let's call it spirit, for want of a better word, and it's a young girl. And does she just wander aimlessly around that place on her own in her dimension or whatever until she comes across you to interact with? It seems like a lonely existence, doesn't it?
I heard James Gilbert sort of, he sort of thought that maybe she likes to play games because the route that she was taking around the house, it seemed like she was running up and down the stairs and then running along the top mezzanine, then coming down the other set of stairs and then running along the floor. And he was like she was doing a circuit and playing around, running a circuit around the house, which is something a child would possibly do.
Yeah, but for eternity?
Yeah, I know. But she does interact with other people, obviously, because we had a lady that we met at the lake house. She was all grown up, but she remembered as a young girl. She went to the lake house when it was in its previous place on Lake Takapuna, and she went to a birthday party there. And she was just walking around the house by herself, and she met this young girl on the stairs. And she was trying to talk to this little girl, and this girl was just standing there looking blank and wasn't actually replying to her. Then the girl's friend came down the stairs and said, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And she said, "I'm talking to this girl." But there was no girl there. This other girl didn't see the mysterious girl.
Okay,
And,
see, that is fascinating.
Yeah, so only she saw it. So then later on, this woman's a fully, she's a grown adult now, and she's come back to the lake house and she told the manager there the story about how she saw this girl. So it was quite fascinating to hear, a current updated version from the actual person.
It certainly is. Now, I'm going to segue into something international now, just get your take on the whole thing. The Conjuring House and the whole thing around that doll that's been going on overseas. I can't believe that people are still buying into this crap. Especially about that doll. Yeah, like you look at that doll and how it's housed. Right. This is the thing that I struggle with. Okay, here's this doll in this what looks like a balsa wood box with some glass on the front of it. Okay. Okay. Now. Just hear me out here, and this is where I've had people try to challenge me, but it's so damned evil, right? It's so damned evil that it can do all this shit, but it can't get through the glass.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? I struggle with that whole thing, and then of course we've got the latest on the Conjuring House, where now apparently the spirits of the Warrens are haunting the place or some shit. I just what's your take on all of that? It's just commercialism.
It's just rubbish.
Yeah,
and I think it'll sell, and somebody will make a lot of money out of it. It's it just shows how gullible and naive the general sort of audience for the paranormal can be. It's just it's mind-boggling, to be honest. I just can't believe it. I mean, I've just got no time for all that rubbish. It's I mean, if they sell it and get the $1.5 million or whatever, or $2 million or whatever they were needing to buy it, I mean, good on them. But it's just going to be a money maker for somebody, and an audience will pay into it, and the power of suggestion will be rife, and it'll basically just carry the legend on and on and on. And it'll it won't do any favors to the paranormal research, the serious paranormal research field. It'll take it backwards at giant leaps. But I don't know. Well, I have no desire to visit the place.
No, see, I confused the Warren House with the Conjuring House, but of course the Conjuring House was for sale too. And the weird thing about that was, I thought it was all thoroughly debunked. I thought the family had come out and admitted that it was all bullshit, and now one of the daughters has surfaced trying to bloody peddle the tale again as an old lady. Yeah. And I'm like,
the narrative changes when there's money involved.
Yeah, but from what I can see though, she doesn't appear to have any connection to the place now. which is kind of weird that she's now peddling this narrative unless she's in cahoots with someone that we don't know about. It just... The whole...
I think there's a lot of desperation out there to remain relevant in the scene. I mean, she's getting on now, and she's, I think she hasn't got time to live, in this world. And Jason Hawes, I mean, he's after Ghost Hunters was shut down, I think he's basically quite desperate for any sort of relevance in the scene. I mean, he's probably a nice guy, but it all seems very desperate, grasping for attention and trying to stay famous. And then you look at all the people that are latching onto the whole Warrens thing. You got that Ryan Buell guy and all these people from that, they're just sort of grasping and hanging on to it, like riding that wave with them.
Yeah, I really,
relevant.
Yeah, it just the whole thing kind of bugs me because it's kind of like, you're right about the American. It seems to be the American thing. It's what I talked about with the side-eye guy, that the American thing seems to be, more sensationalised and more, I don't know. It just, Jason Hawes is probably, of all of them, is probably the more kind of realistic and lower key than a lot of them that are running around screaming demon every 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
But it's still some sort of, it's a real commercialism thing about it. But getting back to that doll thing, I bloody struggle with all that shit. And, the Zach Bagans music, these things are all haunted, but they're so evil, right? And you've got to get bloody priests in to splash water on them. But a friggin' box and some glass keeps it in. I mean, it's just how evil is evil? If these spirits are so
even locked.
Yeah, I know. How evil is evil, though, if these things are so bad, they can do all this shit to you, but they can't come through a glass window? I really struggle with that.
Yeah. And when you move the doll, you've got to wear oven gloves and spray holy water all over it. It's ridiculous.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm talking with Mark Wallbank here from Paranormal New Zealand. We'll be right back after this. From 1987, to take us into the break, Christchurch band Fat Sally, title track to their 1987 EP, Shadow of the Night.
Darkness is your disguise as you prowl the streets, looking for a prize.
Paranormal After Dark with the Roadie on Rocket FM.
And welcome back to Paranormal After Dark. I've got Mark here from Paranormal New Zealand. Now, Mark, you've had some team member changes the last couple of years, and I've spoken to Sean, who's a self-confessed pagan. That's his belief system. And
Yep.
there's something I want to talk to you about, because it kind of gets on what we were talking about just before the break about the Warrens and all that sort of thing. I find a lot of what you see in the ghost investigation thing, and I'm not saying you guys do this, but a lot of it tends to be, or paranormal really, is kind of Christian driven, and that I'm saying, you know, people scream demons and people scream Satan and all this, and a lot of that is, and you can only get a Catholic priest to come in and sprinkle water and all this rubbish, right? Now, when you look at how long humans have been on the earth, and supposedly how long spirits have been around, why would it only be Christian based? That to me starts to make things think that it's just, because a lot of the older religions didn't scream demon. They had good and bad gods, but they didn't have demons. And all this demon thing seems to have come from a Christian based belief system. Do you think that's true? Do you think a lot of what the paranormal out there is that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a religious person. I just stay right away from all that. I just don't bring any of that into my research and my sort of approach to the paranormal. And I try to tell the team and the various team members to try, not to keep it, not bring any religion into it, or religious bias, or that kind of thing, or any beliefs. Try and come in with an open mind and an open slate, and just accept it for what it is, and see what happens, and go with it, and see where it leads you. But try not to have any preconceived ideas based on any sort of biases, if you can help it.
And so that brings me to the thing of having spoken to Sean, and Sean has told me what he's felt and thought. Now, if this is a Christian-based thing, and you have someone who's a pagan there, has his presence in places changed the energy or what you're getting, or you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
yeah. I don't know.
No.
I mean, for me, I'm a bit of an agnostic about it.
Yep.
So it's like, for me, it's just like, all religions are the same, really. I mean, they're just sort of, they have the same amount of power. It's a personal thing, so I don't think it affects the paranormal world in any way.
No, that's what Sean said to me as well. Just for the record, he didn't, But I mean, if you go back, the old ancient pagan religions often had a lot of spiritual based kind of beliefs and stuff. So that's where I laugh at a lot of the things when people scream demon and that. When you think about, I like to phrase it like this, and actually I said this to someone the other day, and they screamed at me because I found out they were a Catholic.
Some Indian ghost. I mean, some Indian ghost out there isn't going to care what some Christian is chanting.
No, well, that's what I mean. But it's like I actually said that the church over the centuries has created Satan and created demon to drum up business. And I said this to this woman the other day, and did I get screamed at? I often wonder if that's not the case,
Yeah.
Because you have to get a Catholic priest to do your exorcism. Well, why? Why can't I get the local bloody druid or or the imam come down? It has to be a Catholic priest. Why?
And the fact that you can't speak out against it or question it says a lot too.
Well, that's right, exactly. It's kind of bizarre. And the other thing that I laughed at too, and I can't remember what it was, but I watched it one day for a laugh. It was months and months ago. It was a UK guy. He's one of the more scream ghosts at everything. I've only watched him once. He was in a Viking graveyard in some place in Britain, a place he claimed was a Viking graveyard, and he was having a conversation on one of the devices with a Viking apparently. And I'm sitting there thinking, hang on, mate. If these people truly are Vikings, they're not going to understand modern English. What are you talking about?
That's right.
Well, we assume that, Now, the other thing on this that always strikes me as odd is that we again it's how we perceive the other side to be, and this goes back to Harry Houdini, where Houdini said when he died he'd try and make contact from the other side, right? To prove that, and as far as I know, his wife went along to seances every year and he never made contact. Now, this is what I struggle with. A lot of people like that, have passed away, and Art Bell, for example, one of my heroes in the radio world, they've passed away. So if there is another side, why aren't these people who were believers reaching out some way and coming back and making contact and saying, yeah, it's all real?
I mean, possibly it's just because it's new technology to them. They've got no idea they were from a different era. I mean, my grandmother was a prime example of this. I mean, my grandmother, who I've written quite a bit about in my past, who encouraged me to do all this, she was hopeless with technology. You know, I was living with her for quite a few years, and when my grandfather died, and just to keep her occupied during the day, I decided to get her I hired her a VHS recorder, so she could play videos, and she could go for a trot down to the video store and rent a video, and she could watch that. But she didn't even know how to use it. She didn't know how to put a tape in and push play and do all the basics. So she was hopeless with any sort of technology. And so I can imagine now. I mean, she did say that she would. You know, I asked her to to make contact with me when she did pass away. On her deathbed, she said she would, and she said she would try and say hello to me. But I haven't heard anything. And whether it's because she hasn't been able to do it, because she's just hopeless with technology and she's not able to use my gear, or maybe there's something on her side stopping her, or maybe there's just nothing beyond.
Well, this is the whole thing. Like, you know, for example, you're talking about. Let's get back to Jonathan for a minute, a 10-year-old boy. Okay, so he's confused. He doesn't know what's going on. He's in a room there, but someone like Art Bell, who knew technology, has passed over. I mean, Art died in 2017, so he's fairly up to the thing, right? He's passed over. He knew about all this technology and that, and yet he's never been able to communicate. As far as I'm aware, I've never heard Art Bell coming back and unless you go on with that silly bloody Huff Paranormal and all that crap. You know what I mean? I've never heard Art Bell, people like him, make contact and come back. So, this is what gets me about these people like psychics or alleged psychics. You Derek Koras, for example. Where are you, Derek? Why aren't you contacting us from the other side? You know? It does make you wonder if you're being contacted, why it's only certain people that do and it's not people who believe in it. The whole thing is just, it's fascinating.
Yeah. So many questions. Many questions. Now,
I'm going to ask you about something completely different that isn't ghosts.
Ooh.
Atlas 3i. What do you think it is?
Oh, I've seen some pretty great photos. I mean, the first photos I started seeing of it, it looked like a giant rock. Yeah. But now I'm seeing ones where it's got lights, it's all lit up with lights, and it looks like some sort of craft. Yeah. Whether that's just fake photos, I don't know, but they look pretty cool.
Well, I've got a theory. Now, hear me out. Now, its trajectory took it past, and this is me I'm not a scientist, and I don't know the logistics of this or anything, but its trajectory took it past Mars and I think Venus, but not past Earth, okay? So all this, they're coming for Earth, they're going to make contact with us, whatever, right? Now, what if we go back to something like Battlestar Galactica. You would have known the original series of that, right? So they're looking for their lost colony in space, okay? So what's to say, this ties in with how some people say Mars may well have had life once and it looks like there was some sort of catastrophe there that ripped the atmosphere away, whether it was a war or a comet hitting or whatever, right? So what's to say that hundreds of thousands of years ago, there wasn't a civilization on Mars that was somehow either in contact or connected with whoever this race was, and they've sent some sleeper ship or a ship that's been travelling for hundreds of thousands of years. Perhaps the occupants have all died out on board, and that's why it went past Mars and not Earth, because it thought there was someone on Mars. And
what if there are civilizations living underneath Mars?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I've been contemplating Mars because, as you know, I work night shift on my own and I have a lot of time to contemplate things. And one night I came up with this whole theory about Mars and, the alleged pyramids on Mars and stuff. And then you look at the pyramids in South America and you look at the pyramids in Egypt. Now, all the listeners are going to think I'm a nutter here, right? This is fine. But, perhaps something happened on Mars and that's why we have these cities up in the Andes with pyramids and stuff and alleged, technology where Goblet Techie, where the bricks have been cut with lasers and that. Maybe they escaped Mars and they came to Earth, but this 3i Atlas coming through could well be connected some way. And see, this is what gets me about it. It's like, why are we ignoring it? I know that it's incredibly hard to send a probe out there straight away, but they knew this thing was coming.
Yeah.
Why aren't we going and having a close look at this damn thing? Because, it's certainly something to it there. That's my theory anyway. What do you think?
Well, I mean, with AI these days, I mean, what is real and what's fake? I mean, who knows? I mean, I've seen some pretty good footage of Atlas, but I don't know if it's AI or not. I mean, I really don't know. And there's nobody coming forward and saying, definitely, this is definitive footage. Well, I mean, there is some brilliant footage which looks like it's been recorded through a telescope. And it's of the Atlas there, and it's all lit up with lights, and it's moving along. It's actually cruising along like a giant ship. And you can see it's been looked at through a telescope, and it's been filmed through a telescope. But whether that's just AI and a fake to throw us off the track somehow, or I really don't know. But it looks impressive. I mean, I would like to think it's more than just a rock.
Well,
I think. Yeah.
I was reading something the other night where the ESA, European Space Agency, I think they had a probe out there that was doing something in Mars that they managed to turn around and take photos of it. I haven't seen their photos yet. But the intriguing part for me is allegedly China had a probe out there somewhere doing something, and they were supposed to have been the one that had the probe closest to it. And they haven't released any footage.
Yeah.
So whether or not,
I guess there's a bit of competitiveness. There might be a bit of a competition to be who's going to be first and who's going to get the best.
I know.
Footage. I don't know.
I just think it's doing us as a human race an injustice. If it is something from another solar system that's some sort of intelligent design or has been, I think it's criminal, and I think it's protecting interests again. It's protecting religions. It's protecting governments. And it's wrong. We should be able to see and find out what this thing is. It's like
if it's technology, if it is some otherworldly technology that we haven't sort of been able to reach yet, it's going to show a human weakness.
Exactly.
For them to come forward and say, this is here, we don't know what it is, and we don't know where it's come from and all this. They're not going to come forward and show that, because that will show their weakness.
But is that a bad thing?
They need to be in control.
Well, I know that, but I also think that the whole UFO thing and these things, and Oumuamua from a few years back as well, I think the major religions of the world have got a lot to control of this. For example, the Vatican has an observatory apparently. Why does the Vatican have an observatory? What are they looking for? Because apparently God created everything, right? Now, they have a lot, not just them, but the probably Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, all have a lot to lose. Well, they don't have a lot to lose, but they do in terms of how their narrative's been created, right? I mean, I've always read religious texts with the mind that gods were just beings from another planet, right? And when you read it that way, it makes sense, okay? It does make sense, Like, Ezekiel saw a wheel and Moses was led across the desert by a plume of flame. Well, I kind of get primitive man sees a plume of flame, doesn't go click, click, click spaceship. He thinks it's a plume of flame, right? So they have a lot to lose in that their narrative changes, but I don't think it changes in a bad way. I mean, why not say, okay, yeah, cool, our creator was actually an extraterrestrial, but hey, we're still here, you can still believe in all that. I just think a lot of that's controlling it as well, and because in the whole of this supposedly big universe, we can't be the only intelligent life, and I think it's arrogant for us to think that we're the most advanced.
Oh, it's a total human arrogance. It's right. I mean, you've got the Christian God. Okay, if the Christian God is the real God, then let's just say he is, and if he created all life and all planets and all everything, well, then he would have created all the universes and all the life on those universes. So, see, I mean, it's like
that's what I struggle with, though. You see, like, and I had this discussion with Sean. So we have a Christian God that suddenly was the only true God, right? But for thousands of years before him, we had all these other gods.
Yeah.
So who were they? Who were they, and where did they go to?
Yeah, that's right.
The whole thing is just it all gets explained by an episode of Star Trek, the original series, called The Steptoe of Play. I'm telling you, everything I ever learned in life, I learned from Star Trek, right? Seriously. I think it's called Plato's Stepchildren, right? They, long story short, they end up on this planet where there's this giant being who turns out to be Zeus. And he explained, and he's lonely. So he captures the Enterprise. I want some people to worship me, and and there's a big narrative where I was once worshipped and we were all revered, and then you turned away from us, so we left. You see, it all makes sense. It all makes sense. So that's where the Roman gods went, right? And but then the question is, who's the Christian God? Who is also the Islamic God? Who's also the Jewish God? If it all gets back to it, so who was he and where did he come from? The whole thing just ties in really sort of, And it also ties in more
important things to think about.
Well, it also ties into the paranormal, mate, because what's to say that any interaction that you guys are having isn't extraterrestrial, isn't interdimensional?
Could very well be.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
so
the thing, we just don't know. We just don't know, but it's all part of the journey, isn't it? Just sort of trying to figure these things out. And everything comes down to Star Trek. Yeah,
that's right. I'm telling you, mate, everything I learned in life, I learned from Star Trek. You'd be amazed. You go and look at Star Trek. Anyway, that's another conversation for another time. It's been good to have a chat. This is Paranormal After Dark. Here is Sins of Eve with Creeping a Take It Out. See you later.
Rocket 88.0.